vanilla. Definitely chocolate. I tend to eat that kind of ice cream most often throughout the year. I only ever have vanilla in high summer when it's really, really hot. For the rest of the time it's always chocolate ice cream. Jocks or nerds? Well, I have to stick together with my brethren here and say nerds, or squares as they were known when I was at school. Yeah, I was seen as a square when I was at school, and I wouldn't have changed it for anything. I think that we tended to have a lot more fun than the jocks did, and it was interesting how people would actually get drawn towards us over time. You'd realise that what we were doing was quite interesting and intelligent, and that we weren't so different from everyone else. We just, liked reading and talking about different things from other people. But we played football and played sports as well, and that seemed to draw people towards us, and we all looked like we were enjoying ourselves a lot. I remember one of the hardest boys in the school once said about me that I was alright if a bit square, and believe me, when you're 15 years old you hold on to a compliment like that like it's a precious jewel, But you'd meet some of them again a year or two later after you'd left school, and they'd say, oh yeah, really used to admire you for the fact that you didn't follow the crowd, you did your own thing, which was nice and good of them. Just wish they'd said it a couple of years earlier, really. Cable or internet? Definitely internet. I'd like to get cable. I've got a very limited service here, don't have the sports channels on it or anything, and I'd like to get that sorted out at some point in my life. But the internet gives me everything that I need, and it's hard to imagine life without it, really. I can live without it, but if I have to do it for more than 2 or 3 days, I start to get a bit twitchy. MySpace or Facebook? Facebook by a million miles. I can never understand people who say Facebook is difficult to navigate or unattractive. I think MySpace really buggered up when the idea of a customizable background was a great one, but too many people put retina scorching fonts on really unsuitable backgrounds. It was completely unreadable. Whereas at least in Facebook, with the look that it had, you can read what's there. It's quite easy to find your way around it. I think if it had a blog feature on it, it would be perfect. I just wish they'd resist the temptation to keep tampering with it when it doesn't need it. Things like timeline and that. But yeah, Facebook pretty much the king, I think, out of the two of them. The Simpsons or Family Guy? Well, the sensible answer is to say American Dad. But I haven't watched either of these for a while. But I think if I had to choose one to watch now, it would be Family Guy, mainly because I just love the character of Glenn Quagmire. I think he's a work of genius, really. Giggity, giggity, giggity. Coke or Pepsi? Always Coke, definitely. I only ever drink Pepsi if there's no Coke, or no Dr. Pepper, or no Sprite, or no mineral water. Batman or Superman? Batman. Much more interesting character, much more interesting villains, much more interesting universe. I think Superman's a very noble idea and a very, iconic creation. But a friend of mine summed it up perfectly. If you have an invincible being, then where's the sense of threat or danger? I know there's kryptonite, but nothing else can affect him. Whereas with Batman, even though he's super armoured and got all the technology, you still feel that one well-placed bullet could bring him down. So he's a much more exciting and engaging character to connect with, I think. Fantasy or reality? Well, I spend a lot of time living in fantasy, and why ever not? It's a good place to be. That's where I prefer to be, but as long as you can keep a check on reality when you need to, and I think I do. Comedy or horror? I'd have to say comedy, I think. I didn't really watch horror films until I was in my 20s, and I enjoy them now, but if I had to choose which one to go and see at the cinema, I'd probably go for the comedy, I think, as long as it was a good one, because there's nothing worse than watching a bad comedy. At least if you're watching a bad horror film, there's unintentional comedy to be had from that, but you've got no such way out if the comedy's bad. The last comedy I saw was Date Night, though, and that was excellent. Pancake or waffles? Waffles. I don't really like pancake at all. My love of waffles, though, basically stems from an advert in my childhood, and people watching this of a certain age will remember the jingle when I sing it. Bird's eye potato waffles, they're waffly versatile. Grill 'em, bake 'em, fry 'em, eat 'em, waffly versatile. Beep, beep. Admit it, you joined in, didn't you? See you in part 3.